Hello and welcome back to the Extra Time Talk podcast where we talk football and only football. I'm your host Shivan Mohindra, and joined by me today we have three very special guests. First off, we have Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm Extra Time Talk writer and Newcastle United season ticket holder.
We've also got Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt Jarvis. I write do a bit of writing for Last Word on Sports, and I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
And a very special guest from Footballah.com, we have Jaesh.
Hi guys, I'm Jaesh from Footballeh. I'm from Singapore, and I'm a Manchester United fan.
All right, brilliant. Leading on nicely from that Manchester United point, we're going to be looking at Jose Mourinho, taking the news by storm this week, and we're going to be looking at our perspectives. Should he stay or should he go? Andrew, what do you have to say about this?
I think he's going to stay because he signed a new contract. Secondly, United have progressed. If they finish second this season, that'll be their highest finish since Fergie retired. And I think as well, he is onto something in terms of pushing for that second spot. I think if Man City weren't so amazing, he would be in the title race. However, I think the performance against Sevilla was completely unacceptable. I didn't like the comments he made about Man U's football heritage. I think that was kind of he was kind of like how is they bantering his own club by talking about how he knocked them out twice. So I think he's doing things which are going to upset the fan base, especially comments like this isn't new for Man United. I knocked them out with Real Madrid and I knocked them out with Inter Milan. I mean, to say that is just ridiculous. But they did play well. They did play better yesterday. So let's see how they go in the FA Cup. Matt, what do you think?
It's a difficult one, but I could possibly see him going in the summer. He signed the new contract, but it's clear, certainly after the Sevilla game, that seeing fans waiting for him to walk past just so they could boo him and berate him. I'm not even sure that he ever had the fans when he first went there. I don't think he was ever going to be the most popular appointment with Man United fans thinking about the football that they play. I think the problem with Mourinho is he's become a bit of a caricature of himself. Some of the comments he makes are very strange. If you think back to the days of Ferguson, he did most of his, kind of tellings off or, running the rule. He did it behind closed doors. Mourinho's, getting at players right out there in the public, domain. And I don't think, whether it be football or anything else, he's not really a great way of managing your players. I watched the game yesterday against Brighton, and yes, they won, and but some of the football again was just so kind of dull and dour, and I just don't know whether he just kind of lost that perhaps Mourinho magic that was there when he first came into English football. I saw somebody with a breath of fresh air, and now it's just like I say, he's become a caricature of himself. They've still got talented players, and they're second in the league. But they were just inept. They were so poor. And maybe if they win the FA Cup, then maybe that'll be a saving grace for him. But I could see him going in the summer. I could see him going. I think the fans have definitely turned on him, and they don't like the style of football. And Mourinho isn't going to change because it's about Mourinho. It's not about the football club in his eyes. So it's going to be an interesting summer, I think, where he's concerned.
Yeah, well put, lads. Being a United fan, I'm Mourinho out completely. I wasn't happy with the appointment, and I've been Mourinho out since the start of this season. I think he's failed to meet expectations. He's been subpar ever since joining. He's not exceeded any expectations by any means. The Europa League was a sort of a constellation again. Like finishing 6th in the league and winning a second-tier trophy for Man United is not acceptable. Maybe for a lower club, then yeah, sure, a Sevilla or something. But we're Man United. We're meant to be playing. We're meant to be challenging for the biggest trophies in England and in the world. The football we've been playing is subpar, and I think Matt gave a great analogy. As he's become a caricature of himself, and he's become too big for his boots. No other manager could get away with saying these comments. So why is Mourinho getting away? A Pochettino comes out to say some of the stuff that Mourinho's been saying. He get annihilated. And yeah, Mourinho's getting annihilated by fans, but there's been no tangible punishment for him. I mean, what must the players be thinking, the board be thinking, and the fans be thinking? I'm completely like my mind goes when every time the guy speaks. I mean, how is he getting away with things like this? Earlier in the season, or even late last season, he was talking about how great a club PSG is, and I'm happy for him to leave for PSG now. I really couldn't care about this guy. He shows not a lot of respect, love, and he doesn't really create relationships with his players, apart from Marwan Fellaini. But like, I mean, what exactly has that guy done in recent times to earn him spot a place in a Champions League second leg crucial knockout game? He cost us the tie, and Mourinho at the first hurdle fell up, the team selection. Tactics were abysmal, long balls up to Lukaku, absolutely terrible. And I mean, just the style of football we're playing is just subpar. It's not Man United football. You watch Spurs playing and how the way the ball is free flowing across the pitch. We're going side to side, like an Arsenal, like a really poor Arsenal. And I hate to make that comparison, but I mean, that's the truth of it. I don't see Mourinho leaving because he is a very arrogant man. He does think he's too big for his boots. He does think he's sort of the managerial god of football. He has had his very colorful past. He's been excellent in the past. He's done great things with different clubs. What has he done at Manchester United that has deserved plaudits? Okay, yes, he won the Europa League. Again, that's a bunch of Champions League rejects. That's a bunch subpar, like sub-top class European teams. So I don't think that is meant to be the saving grace. FA Cup is not something that... FA Cup has lost its magic. I've said it many times. The FA Cup is not what it used to be. If he had won the FA Cup 10 years ago and he'd come second in the league, then yeah, sure. FA Cup is now a cup for where reserves get some match experience and the kids get to go and have a kick about on the pitch. I think FA Cup has completely lost its magic. And now, okay, maybe in the semi-finals, finals, yeah, people take it more seriously to get some consolation silverware. But winning the FA Cup is simply not acceptable. Just the FA Cup and second in the league, I don't think is acceptable for a Manchester United with the money we've spent. Furthermore, I mean, he's making complaints about how he's not getting enough money. The guy is spending money getting the top class players. Alexis Sanchez, Paul Pogba, Lukaku, and Victor Lindelof have been, and Matic, marquee signings, all that he's wanted. And to be complaining that he's not been getting enough money, I think is just completely ridiculous. Chelsea have not been spending near as much last season, and they managed to win the league due to some managerial tactics, someone changing up a formation, developing some new tactics, and getting the kids out there to play some nice football and get the ball attacking, playing fearlessly. We're going out and we're just looking scared of teams. We're looking to like play for the draw and play for like a sort of consolation win. We're not going there representing the badge and going to score 3-4 goals like Man City are. Jaesh, another Man United fan, where do you stand on this matter?
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on Mourinho out. But I think it's a bit of a more nuanced situation. I feel that some of the points he made last week in his press conference were kind of right. I did agree with him that Man City were 2 years ahead of Manchester United in terms of the cycle of the team a little bit. But I'm with you on the fact that he spent much more money. He's bought Pogba, he's bought Lukaku, he's bought Matic, he's bought so many good players, but he doesn't seem to use them. And my main concern is that we've got really exciting people like Martial and Rashford. And I really just don't like seeing him kill the way they play. Because there's one guy who's a prime example of all this, which is Wenger at Chelsea. When he came from Shakhtar, he was like one of the best number 10 players around Europe. And he came into Chelsea and kind of forced to defend and forced to become this team defensive kind of player. And that natural flair seems to have gone, So now Willian's a fantastic player, but I always wonder what would have happened to Willian if he had gone to a club with like a Pep sort of manager or Klopp sort of manager who would have developed him, And I think Salah is the perfect example of this. He was cast aside, but with the right manager, he's really come out and shunned. So I think that this is the biggest concern with United now. We've got so many players, but is Mourinho the right guy to really bring this team forward? I'm very concerned that actually he's bringing the team backwards. Whether he's going to stay or not, it's really strange. I'll tell you this really strange, really weird one. I was a season ticket holder there before, so I've been there, and I just feel that there's something really weird going on around the club. There's a lot of different power groups and power brokers within the club. You know, like there's Pogba, there's Lukaku, now there's Sanchez. And I feel like Mourinho has sort of lost the dressing room, or is on the verge of losing the dressing room a little bit. His tactics could push them over the edge, or it could get the reaction that he wants, you know. So it's really, I think it's all down to luck. He could stay, he could go. It really depends. If he wins the FA Cup, I think he will stay, even though he doesn't deserve to stay. As a United fan, I do think that we should be playing attacking football. We should be on the front foot all the time. And it's just very depressing to look across the city and look at Man City play that way. You know, while we basically set up to kill football, they're basically out there to play the best sort of football possible. And I think that's what the saddest reason and why he really has to go.
Who would you guys
Can I just quickly ask that I think one of the problems perhaps is we talk about Mourinho going or staying, but if Mourinho does stay, I think my concern is, if I were the Man United fan, would probably be the likes of Marcus Rashford. If he has a great World Cup, I think there's going to be teams, you know, and my team, Tottenham, for example, who might start looking at Rashford and start to offer him something, because he's not getting enough game time under Mourinho, and he is a great player. And I think that would be my concern if I were the Man United fan, is if Mourinho does stay, I think some of the players, and like I say, Rashford would perhaps be one, you know, he's going to be out there on the market in the summer. And, you know, I could see him going in the summer. And maybe a couple of others too. So I think this is a really make or break time for Man United in terms of how they get back to the kind of success they had under Ferguson. It was always going to take time. But I do think that this summer, this period, really important in what happens next, I think, at Old Trafford.
Yeah, good shout, Matt. Andrew, anything to add there? So you wanted to jump in earlier?
I was just thinking, who would you guys get instead?
Carlo Ancelotti.
Do you not think he's a bit short term?
I mean,
honestly, I think Roy Keane.
Sorry?
I think that's what's needed. You know, some intensity. I get Roy Keane in.
Roy Keane.
It's a strange decision. He's not the best manager.
Have you seen what he did at Ipswich? Ipswich was in the Championship when he left them. Come on.
That's the thing. We've gone with the so-called best manager, right, Mourinho, and given him this empty checkbook and let him spend money, and we can't seem to catch up to City. A new approach is needed.
If you're worried about Mourinho destroying Marshall and Rashford, give Roy Keane a go.
I don't think so. I really think that someone like Keane, not for a long time, but I think he'd come in there and sort things out for a season.
Yeah, that's a
strange. Wenger might be free.
No, I haven't heard Roy Keane, but I agree with your sense that we need some intensity. We need a catalyst to boost us now. We've been sitting 4.5, 5 years now patiently after Fergie. We've got Jack in return, right? We've literally got nothing back. I mean, we've had very little success at the top flight for 5, 6 years now since Fergie left, and I've just not seen any ambition at the club. No ambition. And I think Mourinho's a very immature manager, in the sense he'll always find a scapegoat. He'll always find someone else to blame but himself, right? He'll go down to the dressing room lady to blame before he blames himself, right? And I mean, I think he's very immature. And there's one thing that I think needs to be done at the end of the season, 100%. Pogba out or Mourinho out. Clearly, there's beef between the two. There's some sort of problem. There's some sort of animosity there. Mourinho paid 89 for him. I wasn't overly ecstatic when he came back. I was happy. I saw, like, okay, we're actually showing some ambition. But I wanted someone a bit more world-class, someone that was proven. And I know that he had this sort of thing with Fergie, and Fergie's no idiot, as we all know. Fergie decided he was a bit of a prima donna and got rid of him. He's proving that now, and Mourinho looks like he's made the wrong decision with Pogba. He's now creating some sort of animosity between them in the dressing room. Who knows how that's influencing the dressing room? Again, Pogba's a very immature player. In terms of personality-wise, what sort of example does Pogba set for the likes of McTominay and for Rashford and Martial and stuff? I mean, again, just sort of immaturity coming out between the two, and it's very petty arguments that seem to be going on. And I think one of them needs to go to sort of create some sort of stability in the club, and then we need like some intensity, an engine that drives us forward for a season or two, and then we pick up the momentum with another manager later on.
There's a real detachment, I think, between Mourinho, the players, and the fans, and I think that's dangerous in any football club. But the real detachment between the majority, a lot of fans who don't like Mourinho and never were going to like him. Yeah. And you can see, as you said, with Pogba and Mourinho, you can see that. And I think it's very dangerous, for a football club to have that. And I think it's just on the cusp of, it's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to, kick on and do really well next season, or you can start to see, I think there's real problems within the three areas: player, manager, and the fans. And I think, there could some, I wouldn't say worrying times, but certainly some things for, there's some warnings there that need to be heeded.
Yeah, Matt, I agree with you there. I would be more supporting of Mourinho if I saw some form of ambition. What ambition have we seen? We're parking the bus against, the Spanish Stoke, and we're in the round of 16. We're getting knocked out. We're not showing any ambition. Alexis Sanchez, the heart of Arsenal, a world-class player at Barca, has come in, and he's done jack. He's been the worst performing player on the pitch every game. I mean, we saw this with Pogba when he first arrived. Martial, again, I'm linking it back to the immaturity and the pettiness of Mourinho. Martial had a spell of 6 games where he was an absolute monster on the pitch. He was a machine, running down that left-hand side. We bring in Sanchez, we shift Pogba out, and now there's confusion amongst Lingard, Sanchez, and Martial. Who's the number 10, who's the right wing, and who's the left wing? Does anyone know? We had Sanchez playing as a 10 against against Liverpool, Then he's going out wide for Sevilla. We've got Lingard coming on and off the bench. We don't know our starting formation. We don't know our best 11. We're really struggling, aren't we? Right? There's no ambition. The football we're playing is boring. You're seeing other fans trolling us. It's just not the Man United that we are. It's starting to look like a bit of an AC Milan downfall, right? Once European giants, and now you're sort of just deteriorating slowly and slowly. And when is someone going to stop? Get a manager who's not afraid, someone that can get the team fired up, get them playing risky-ish football, even though it's not actually risky. You're going out to show some intent of winning a game, and then, kicking on from there, not from playing side to side and from starting off this petty, very silly, immature sort of arguments amongst players, letting players control you and letting the manager control the club. It's a club that makes the decisions, and I think urgent action needs to be taken place.
I think it's not just Pogba. You've mentioned Sanchez, and Pogba and Sanchez are two players that, wherever they've been, have always had this notoriety for causing problems. They're both very big egos, and I don't necessarily think bringing Sanchez in was probably the kind of player that Man United needed at the time. And I also think with Sanchez, and sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful to you Man United fans, but I think, to be honest with you, he wanted to go to Manchester City. I really do. And I think because that all went the way it did, he ended up at Man United. And he doesn't look like a player who wants to play for Man United Football Club. Pogba doesn't really look overly interested. And again, I think that comes from the manager. The fans sense it. I think that's, there's a big problem there that needs addressing.
Yeah, so, I put this tweet out last December on the 28th. And I've said it before, and I'm not just jumping on the bandwagon. But Mourinho out at the end of the season. Unless we start playing better football, cross. UCL semis, cross, top 2 in the league, potentially, some promise of good football and results next season, cross. We're really not showing much ambition, and we're just not showing the spark, some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. We're in the tunnel, there's no light. We're just driving endlessly down a spiraling cycle of deterioration, and we're going to reach a point where someone's going to wake up and go, where are we? What do we have to do? And then we're going to end up in a situation like Arsenal and have to rebuild for the next 5 years. That's what we're meant to be doing after Fergie left. So I feel very strongly that it's time for him to go, and we need to get a proper manager in. He's past his day. He's bringing up all this history. Yeah, kudos to you. You did great in the past. It's time to go now. Stop bringing it up. Stop blaming everyone but yourself. If Mourinho's coming out of press conferences going, I'll hold my hands up. I got the tactics completely wrong today. It's my fault. I would have been more understanding. The players would have been like, all right, boss, you got it wrong. But the players now must be thinking, what am I doing wrong? I've tried everything. This guy is making me do this. I'm doing it, but yeah, it's my fault still. The manager's job is to grab the team, motivate them, and get them out there playing some nice football with tactics. Our tactics are route 1 to Lukaku, which is unacceptable. Anyone with contrasting views there?
Do you not think this is your best season since Fergie left?
Not particularly, no.
No, I think you see when that's not a fair thing to say because it comes together with the amount of money spent, you see. In the first season after he left, we didn't buy anyone. We only got one player. And then after that, as we started to spend more and buy these players like Lukaku and Pogba, that's when we started to actually show a little bit of form. And people seem to kind of attribute last season to Mourinho. I don't think so. Honestly, I think if Moyes had been given 3 years and the same amount of money, he'd put out a better team today. It took a lot to fix that United team, and there's so much.
Moyes is the worst appointment ever.
Between, and the first guy didn't even get a full shot and the money, So it went one way for a while, and there's really bad morale down. And then a new guy comes in, tries to steady the ship, and makes really boring football happen. And then they get rid of him, and then another guy comes in with essentially the same style as Van Gaal, essentially the same style, and they think that he's going to be better. So it's not been better; it's just been the same thing. And I feel that United have lost their tradition a little bit. Because they've become frightened of City and Liverpool trying to catch up. They started throwing money at the problem, and they sacked Van Gaal and got Mourinho, the checkbook manager. But when the checkbook manager can't win with spending all this money, I think we have a real serious problem because I don't know what we do next. We've spent all the money and we can't win. We can't catch up.
But Man City have spent more than you, really.
Okay, they spent more, but we've bought the big players. We've gone out for those big one-off buys. And we're still able to buy those big one-off buys. So
I mean, Liverpool was 53 million.
I mean, although they've spent more, I would say Man City is a better team. This is the one point that Mourinho made the other day, which I would agree with, is that the cycle of the teams, the Man City team is in a different cycle to the United team. The United team was completely on a down cycle, being rebuilt with players being thrown out every year. Whereas the City team that he inherited, was a much better team, and he spent so much money. So the margins are quite thin, I would say, because these guys are really good managers, supposedly really good managers. But I just think that when you spend this much money and you're the guy who says, give me money and I'll give you results, and you can't give results, it's about time for you to go and, a new approach is needed.
There's nothing new, though, with Mourinho, though. I mean, if you actually look, he's perhaps at a stage now where perhaps he's not going to win as much, but, if you look at him at Chelsea, certainly the second time round, if you look at him at Real Madrid, and now at Man United, there's nothing new that's happening with him. Even when he won at Real Madrid, the fans didn't like him. They didn't like his style of football. The second time around at Chelsea, the fans didn't seem to warm to him quite as much. And you've seen it now with Man United. And I think it goes back to my original point, this thing about him becoming a caricature of himself. And I think that's the problem. And when he signed Sanchez, I'm not sure he signed Sanchez because they actually wanted him to play for Man United. I think he signed Sanchez just to stop him going to Manchester City. And I think that's the problem. And he's become so self-obsessed that I'm not sure he's going to ever get the best out of Man United while he's there. And as I say, he signed that new contract, so maybe he will be there next season. But if he is there next season, I don't think he'll be there very long if results don't go very well at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that was a terrible decision by our board to renew the contract. I don't know what the guy's done that's even met the expectations. So I don't know why we're rewarding him with a new contract. So, I mean, right, as Jaesh dropped off the call, it looks like...
We seem to lose him. I don't know if he fell off his chair, but he seems to have gone.
Yeah, I'll just give him a drop message again. But, no, I mean, I just don't know. That decision to sign a new contract was, I think, a poor one. Having considered the other managers that are available, I don't know why we felt the need to give him the new one. And Andrew, are you justifying that Mourinho's done a good job this season and in his time at Man United, he's been a success?
I'm not saying he's a success. I'm saying he's an improvement. I mean, the job for David Moyes was completely out of his depth during that job. He wasn't good enough, and he's been an improvement compared to Moyes and Van Gaal. I think losing to Sevilla was completely out of order because, the money United has spent in comparison to Sevilla, they should be getting through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
However, they're still, like he said in his press conference, they're still quite far from 2011 going to the Champions League final, it's been a long time since Man U have made an impact on the Champions League. So, it is going to take time. And, I mean, personally, I think he has. I think it's the style of play, isn't it? But I also think everything should be taken in context that this Man City team is one in a generation. Like, I don't think this is the best team I've seen. The Arsenal Invincibles. So, is it fair for him to, say, he came second, he's second to them? The other thing I'd say is, as well, is like everyone says, at Real Madrid, he only won one league title. I mean, that was Pep Guardiola's Barcelona that he won the league title against.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty impressive. Like,
I don't think anybody's questioning Mourinho's kind of history and impressive. I mean, he's a good manager. It'd be daft to say that he's suddenly become a bad manager overnight. I think for me, it's just that he's become almost the comments about Man United previously. A little bit strange for a manager of a club to start talking about his own record, beating the club that he's currently managing.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's trying to get a reaction, to almost get himself sacked. And a lot of people said that with the Chelsea the second time round. There were a lot of reports in the media, and I think John Cross in the Sunday Mirror at the time talked about when he went to see Mourinho giving his press conferences, there was very much a feeling towards the end that he was almost trying to say things to get himself out of the door, and it comes across a bit like that. I mean, in the Manchester Evening Times today, I mean, it just a little quote that made me smile. It said that, Mourinho's press conferences are now more entertaining than his football teams. And I think that just said everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just don't know why someone's not telling him that, listen, mate, it's our club, not yours. You can't be making these rash comments. And I don't even think they're rash comments. I think they're just comments that he generally believes and he's just saying. Like, think about it. If Pochettino or Klopp comes out to say this, what would the reaction be? Right?
Well, being a Spurs fan, Pochettino came out and said some of these things. I mean, knowing what the Spurs fans are like, we're a fickle bunch. They'd be mortified. I mean, I think if you look at Pochettino, and obviously the documented relationship he's got with Ferguson, I think he's got a similar style of management. He keeps it behind closed doors. If you look at a Man United player, for example, look at recent substitutions. If you look at them when they go off, you see a lot of dissent of them kind of throwing, their shin pads or things down and just ignoring Mourinho. You watched the Tottenham game yesterday. Lucas Moura's really disappointed to be taken off. Pochettino's got his hands on his shoulders, talking to him in his ear. You kind of get the impression he's saying, look, you've put a good shift in. You don't see that with Mourinho anymore.
Yeah.
And I think his relationship with players is very different now to when he first started. And I think he's become so self-obsessed that I don't think he sees the bigger picture of what's going on around him quite as much as he used to. And I think that's where the problems will come. Whether he'll still be there, like I say, I think he may be gone in the summer.
Was Pochettino won?
Well, I mean, that's the old question that obviously everybody labelled at Spurs. But I think the kind of thing is that he's been there 4 seasons. And if you look at it, people talk about, well, Spurs have only won one trophy in the last 10 seasons, which they have. So Liverpool have only won one in the last 10 years. Spurs have finished above Liverpool 7 out of the last 8 seasons. Yet if you watch the media and watch the TV, they keep talking about Liverpool. They're not talking about them losing their best players in the summer. You constantly hear Tottenham don't win anything, they've got to do this. I think the thing is with football is that, you look at Man City's millions, you look at the amount of money Man United have spent. Look at Spurs' net spend compared to those teams. It's nowhere near. There's a lot of talk about Spurs. No, please don't.
Net spend. When people start discussing net spend.
But the thing is that Spurs, Tottenham do that. I mean, that's their choice. That's how how the club is run. We've got the new stadium to go into and things. And I do hope we win the FA Cup this year and get that first trophy under the belt. For me, you've also got to look at, particularly for Spurs, we're coming from a different standpoint to Manchester United. Manchester United are a team that have won trophies for sort of 20 years consistently and are now not winning the odd trophy, but it's not what the fans want. With Spurs, I've got to, I try to look at the point when are we making progress season on season? And if you look at last season in the Champions League, when we were quite frankly an embarrassment, to this season where we were in a pretty horrible group with Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid, who we beat. Real Madrid would beat, quite comfortably. And, we went out to Juventus. I think it was a disappointing result on the night, but they've been in 2 of the last 3 Champions League finals. So
are you in 4th though?
At the moment, we're in 4th. Yeah, we're in 4th at the moment. But I think the thing for Spurs this season is making sure they go into the new stadium in the Champions League. They're in the Champions League, and but in the game, I'm quite confident that we could even still finish second, even above Man United. But we shall see. I think in terms of Spurs and the players, what have you. Harry Kane, I've got absolutely no doubt whatsoever, will still be playing for Tottenham Hotspur next season. I think Alderweireld and Danny Rose are the 2 that will probably go. But Pochettino's very clever in making sure that he's already bringing players through to fill those gaps. And, we get called the one-man team. Yeah, we've had now 2 games against Bournemouth and Swansea in the Cup without Harry Kane, and we're a one-man team, and we've scored 7 goals and only let 1 in. Take Mo Salah out of Liverpool, look at the other people scoring for them, Firmino occasionally. You don't hear the same thing levelled at them. I find it very strange, the whole thing with Spurs, but I'm happy with the way that we're trying to do things. Yes, we need a trophy, but the idea whenever I hear anybody say, "Oh, well, sack Pochettino," when I hear that, I mean, those comments come from people who, to be honest with you, I mean, they don't really know a great deal about football, because I'm sure Manchester United would be quite happy to have Maurizio Pochettino. But,
do you think Real Madrid?
Sorry?
Do you think Pochettino is going to go to Real Madrid?
It's possible eventually. I don't think he'll go in the next 2 or 3 years. I've got a very simple point on that. Winning the Premier League, or winning trophies with Spurs, would actually be a bigger achievement on his CV than winning anything with Real Madrid, because Real Madrid obviously and Barcelona kind of tend to win the trophies over there. They're not the competition, I suppose, like we have in the Premier League. I don't know actually though. I mean, he's been quite open about the fact that he wouldn't want it to manage Real Madrid because of his ties with Atletico. He said the same about Arsenal. I do ultimately think he probably will, but I genuinely see that, if you get that first trophy, I genuinely can see him at Spurs for another 3 or 4 seasons, because I think he wants to finish the project. And the thing is with Pochettino is he doesn't have an agent. He manages himself. He doesn't believe in having an agent, and I think that's good. But sure. I do think he'll go at some point, but do I think it'll be this summer? Will he go to Real Madrid? No, I don't think so. No, not at all.
All right, well, very valid points brought up everywhere. Let's move into the next topic. Arsenal's next manager. We don't know when Wenger will leave, but he will eventually leave. And he wins the Europa League. He has his dream farewell. Who replaces him? Andrew? Let's just go around by saying one name who we think should replace him first. Andrew, you go.
Personally, I think they should go for Diego Simeone. Probably is the one I would go for.
Matt?
Andrew's not going to like this, but I'm going to say Rafael Benitez.
Oh, that's a new one. Jaesh?
I'm going to go with Antonio Conte, because I think he's going to be leaving Chelsea at the end of the season, and he's the perfect man to just cross London and go do a job at Arsenal. I think they need some disciplinarian. I think, so he's a perfect fit.
Not Roy Keane.
No, you're right. That's just for United.
I'm gonna say Allegri would be the perfect man for Arsenal.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think the most interesting one there was Simeone, Andrew. Justification? I mean, he's a great manager, but what do you have to say for how he'd fit in with Arsenal?
I think Arsenal they've played lovely, pretty football in recent years. They've been finishing the season. They look like they're going to come 6th quite distantly. I think they probably need someone who's going to organise the team and fix the problems that they've been having. And I think Simeone, the guy won the league with Atletico. This is the by far much smaller wage bill. He's also got to a Champions League final. He's just done it over a period of time. People say, they don't play that attractive football, but I've watched them. I think they're pretty pretty decent. I don't think, I think he'd be perfect for Arsenal. And as well, he'd be at Arsenal. He'd be given time because at the end of the day, they've wanted Wenger out for quite a while now, and he's got proven pedigree. He's got to a Champions League final. He's won La Liga. He's done it with a smaller budget than the big teams. Just to say, I don't think Rafa would be on Arsenal's shortlist, because I think Rafa, again, his style of football may not agree with Arsenal, and he hasn't done something majorly for a long time, Rafa. So I still think he's probably the club's just below the top 6. I think Rafa would be the one getting jobs in that position.
Matt?
Yeah, I don't know whether he'd be on Arsenal's radar, Benitez. The reason I said Benitez, I've always thought he's a really good manager. I think he's a master tactician. I really do. Obviously he's working within very large constraints with Newcastle, which obviously Andrew, will be aware of and will have suffered for some time. But I think when Rafa Benitez went to, obviously, he did a fantastic job at Liverpool. But if you look when he went to Chelsea, and of course a lot of the fans were very much against him going there. But what was interesting was with Benitez was that by the kind of end of his period at Chelsea, the Chelsea fans actually seemed to quite like him and were kind of applauding him within the stadium. Yeah. And I think Arsenal are at that point where they're going to have to go through a little bit of a rebuilding process. Wenger, undoubtedly, as much as it hurts me to say, has done a fantastic job in his 20 plus 25 years at Arsenal. He's still won trophies over the last 5 years, even though they've not been playing well. But I think his tenure's coming to a natural conclusion. I do think he'll go at the end of the season. I don't think he'll be sacked. I think he'll be mutual consent, and whether he'll stay there in some capacity. I just think Benitez, on perhaps a 2 to 3 year contract, would be able to kind of steady the ship. I think he gets the best out of players. And I think he could maybe buy those couple of extra kind of steely players to perhaps get them through what's potentially going to be a tricky period while they try and, boost themselves back up. I think Wenger, some of his signings have been a little bit questionable, over the last couple of years. Aubameyang, he did great in Germany, but you look at him, he got a couple of goals, but you look at him in sort of the last 2 or 3 games, and he doesn't look like a player that's full of confidence, and he's struggling a bit with the Premier League. But that's why I would say Benitez, and I'd say that's just my opinion. I think Andrew's right. I don't think Arsenal will go for Rafael Benitez. I think they'll go for probably a longer-term, younger manager. And I suspect it will be somebody like Simeone. He's been linked with pretty much every club in the top 4 or 5 over the last few years and never come. I would say Arsenal are probably the right kind of club for him. So it'll be interesting to see. Although potentially Everton after this season, I don't think Allardyce would be there. So Simeone is somebody that they've talked about, with their kind of new owner with a lot of money. But, Everton or Arsenal, I would suspect he's probably going to go for Arsenal. But yeah, I think Benitez would actually do a very, very good job there. But yeah, probably Andrew's right.
Jaesh, Conte.
I also think Simeone is actually a perfect fit for Arsenal, because what I think is they need a disciplinarian. They need someone who's going to get these guys performing at a higher level, because the culture of not performing to the highest level is set in at Arsenal, where it's not so intense, I feel. And I think that's why the Sanchez frustration towards the end of his reign at Arsenal, right? He felt that the other players weren't giving enough as he was. So I think basically what Arsenal need, they've got a lot of talented footballers, but they need someone who's going to take him to the next level. And I think that requires a hard taskmaster. So I like a Simeone or Conte, someone really, who can have the team shaped in his mold.
Yeah.
Do you not think Conte's had a shocking year this year in terms of, I mean, I watched Chelsea the other night. He's got Giroud and Morata on the bench, and he's playing no striker. Do you not think he's had quite a bad year this year?
I do think he's not had a great year, okay, but I've got a lot of respect for him because this is a guy who did come in to the league in his first season and won the league when everyone was focused on Klopp and Pep and Mourinho, So I do think that this guy knows what he's doing. But again, there seems to be a divide between the club and him. So I think he hasn't got the players that he wants, and I think that's his way of sending a message to the club that he doesn't have the players that he wants by leaving Giroud and Morata on the bench and playing Hazard. He seems to me a bit of like an old school hard man kind of guy, and I think he needs to have his team and his way of doing things. A lot of the players don't seem to be his players, and he's kind of like just trying to fit things in and get the job done without complaining too much. I think he'd be a perfect fit in a club like Arsenal right now, because they really need a figure to build around.
I think the problem is with Chelsea, and you've seen it with the other managers as well. The problem is there that you've got Abramovich and you've got the people that buy the players, and you kind of get the second season syndrome with Chelsea quite a lot. And the problem is that the manager very rarely buys many of the players. I mean, Conte has made kind of claim that he hadn't been transfer market, although if you actually look at the amount of money that they've spent over the summer and January, the amount he spent doesn't back that at all. But obviously what he's saying is they're not his players, they're not the players that he would ask for. No manager's ever going to have that autonomy at Chelsea for a long period of time because of Abramovich, being there. But yeah, I mean, with Arsenal, perhaps he'd have more of that autonomy, and that would make him kind of a better fit. He's certainly very different to Arsene Wenger. He's very kind of over the top. He's kind of running up and down the sidelines. So, and yeah, he perhaps would bring that that bit of discipline into the team. So could see him as well being a fit. And I don't think there's any doubt that he won't be at Chelsea next season. As soon as the final whistle goes on, whenever it is, 13th of May this year, as soon as that final whistle goes, I think it'll be thanks a lot, one title, see you later. I don't think he'll be there, no doubt.
I'm going to throw one more name into the mix. That's Allegri. And for the simple reason, he's a guy that knows how to organize a team and literally organize the team on the pitch. I think Arsenal, especially the defense, yes, it's a subpar defense, but the way in which they're organized, the rookie mistakes that are being made week in, week out are unacceptable. And these are sort of quick fixes that Allegri could make. He knows how to organize a back line. You see your Koscielny and Mustafi running around like headless chickens. Mustafi's a World Cup winner. Koscielny was once world class. And these guys still have a couple years in them. And what I'm saying is that Allegri would be able to sort of get them steady and sort of show a role model for the younger players like your Konstantinos and your Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, etc. This is something that they can look up to. You can develop them on the sideline. And in 3-4 years, you'll have a solid back line. I mean, Kolasinac was a Bundesliga Team of this Year starter, I believe, right? He's turned to absolute crap coming into Arsenal, right? He's been dismal. Like, Bellerin was wanted by Barcelona. Obviously, there's something in these players, and Wenger's just not getting it out of them. You've got a banging attack. And again, I think Allegri knows how to manage an attack as well. But he specializes in organizing a defense, and that's what Arsenal need. The attack will sort itself out once they have the reassurance that their defense is solid. And when you've got a world-class attack with Ozil, Mickey, Lacazette, Aubameyang, a midfield of, your Xhaka if he stays, but if you get another good holding midfielder alongside Jack Wilshere and a solid back line, you're suddenly looking at a title contending squad. And I don't think that you have to have this whole drawn-out rebuilding process. I think if you get the right appointment, it can be done in a shorter period of time. And this can be sort of catalyzed and get them going again and get them to where they want to be, where they haven't been for the past however many years under Wenger.
Why Arsenal? Why not Man U?
For Allegri?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, we're looking at it from just a single perspective. I'm looking at it at just Arsenal. I'd happily welcome Allegri with open arms to Man United, but I have my heart set on Ancelotti, a proven guy, passionate manager. I have my heart set on Ancelotti for United. And I think Allegri would be a great fit. Jaesh, again, I mean, he's in the mix. I think he's a bit too inexperienced at the moment. I think he hasn't proved himself at the higher caliber. But he, again, is a manager that's not scared to grab the team, motivate them, and show them who's boss and get them out there playing football. And like you've seen with Burnley this season, who are on Arsenal's tail for the 6th spot.
What do you guys think about Luis Enrique? What do you guys think about Luis Enrique? Well, he's like one level above Arsenal already. Is he like a level above Arsenal?
Yeah. Well, probably at this moment in time, I think we're probably going back about sort of maybe 7 or 8 years ago, perhaps. Yeah. I don't think he'll go to Arsenal. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, and as always, we're kind of all, we're talking about these, we're talking all about these foreign managers, and you've got, and Arsenal are never going to appoint Sean Dyche. I know that, but it is a bit of a shame, really, that we have got good managers out there in this country, and we constantly go for all these, these big names. I mean, personally, from a Spurs perspective, I think the perfect fit for Arsenal would be Alan Pardew. He's in his last. I'm joking. In his last 2 managerial positions, he's managed 28 games and won 2. So that would be perfect. But in all seriousness, going back to the original point, I do think it is a shame that somebody like Sean Dyche isn't given an opportunity, because I think the football that he has played with Burnley is actually a lot better than people give him credit for. He builds from the back, which is very much an Arsenal tradition, and he builds a strong midfield. So I genuinely think that he could go to Arsenal with that extra money, with that extra support, and I do actually think he could go there and do a good job. He's not going to get the job because football doesn't work like that anymore.
Correct.
It's all about money and it's all about the big names. But I do think it's a shame that someone like him isn't having his name chucked into the ring, because I actually think he deserves it. People say, well, it's only Burnley, but actually what he's done with that, I think it's absolutely incredible. Very underrated. And Dyche has fallen off the chair again.
Yeah. Any concluding points on the Arsenal managers, or should we jump back into the UCL predictions? Anything else?
Let's go to the UCL. I can smell my dinner.
All right. Yeah, let's go into UCL. So just quickly, we have 4 ties. Personally, slightly underwhelming, if I'm not going to lie. I mean, you got Roma, Barca, which I think is very one-sided. You've got your Bayern, Sevilla, again, very one-sided. Then you've got your Liverpool, City, which I think is the most interesting draw, and your Madrid, Juventus.
Yeah, the Juventus-Real Madrid game kind of sort of sticks out a little bit to me. I think having watched Juventus against Spurs, I mean, obviously we went out, but we did manage to dominate for the majority of the 2 games. It'd be interesting to see how Juventus set up against Real Madrid. I imagine in the first leg they'll do similar to what they did against Spurs. They'll probably be quite quick, but then they'll be quite defensive. But there were certainly signs at Wembley, and Spurs didn't take a lot of chances, but they did make the back line look very fragile. They've got a lot of experience, but they're a bit slow at the back. I think the Barcelona versus Roma, I just can't see that being anything other than a Barcelona victory.
Yeah.
The Sevilla Bayern, I actually would have given Sevilla some chance if the first leg was away, so they could have gone there, because actually they're quite decent at home. But I think because they're at home in the first leg, I think they'd have to win by 3 or 4 to stand any chance. The Liverpool Man City, obviously from an English fan's point of view, has got to be the kind of biggest one that you look at there. It's very interesting, that game, because Man City are by far and away the best team that we've seen in the Premier League this year. But only 2 months ago, we were talking about Man City walking away with the quadruple. Now, if they were to get knocked out in this tie, they're going to be left with the Premier League and the League Cup, which isn't even the recognised double in England. So, whilst it won't take away what a fantastic season they've had, it's quite interesting that they have suddenly just, fallen away. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in that game. Again, I think probably like the Sevilla one, I think Liverpool, I think any team, you always want to be away in the first leg. I think, would you agree with that, guys? You want to be, you want to be away and then...
Yeah, I think so.
Better to be away in the
I think always better to come home in the second leg.
I think the advantage of playing at home the first leg is you can sort of, play a little bit for the draw. And I mean, okay, if you're the underdog, I think yes, playing away the first leg is better. But if you're the dominant side, I don't see any harm in playing the first leg at home, dominating the game and closing the tie early.
But I mean, the Liverpool-Man City one, do you not think that, a bit like with the Sevilla game in Bayern, do you not think that Liverpool are going to have to win by, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 clear goals to realistically stand any chance of going through at Man City? Just bearing in mind that Liverpool do tend to score their higher amounts of goals tend to be at home. I mean, 5-0 yesterday against Watford. I don't know whether if they won 1-0 at Anfield, do you think that'd be enough to take to Man City?
I mean, I think firstly, I think this tie is inevitable. I think it's going to be City because they score wherever the hell they are, right? They can score good. They score goals for fun. When a few of their players are on their game, they're invincible this season. I think they're absolutely outstanding. 1-0 at Anfield, taking that to the Etihad. Interesting question, and I think that would lead to a very close game that would end with Liverpool probably winning on away goals. Because I think Liverpool, again, another attacking giant, another attacking phenomenon that's taken the league by storm. You know, your Mane, Salah, Firmino up front, Wijnaldum, your Oxlade-Chamberlain can put in a shift as well. I think 1-0 at Anfield will get them the win, but I think City will win at at Anfield. I think they'll win both legs, and I think they'll destroy the tie, quite frankly. I think
my issue with Liverpool would be, and Man City I can come back to, but I think my thing with Liverpool is if they only won, my concern probably with Liverpool has got to be their defence, because I don't rate Lovren at all. And I think £75 million Van Dijk. I mean, his best game since he joined Liverpool, I think, was against Southampton. But if you watched him in the games recently against the bigger club, he doesn't look quite as comfortable as perhaps people think he really is. I know certainly in the game, remember the last game? I can't remember the last game they played at Anfield before the Watford game, and
United
looked there. United away, of course. Yeah, I thought him and Lovren at the back. If that had been against Man City, Liverpool would have lost that by a lot more than 3-1.
I think Man City are as well. They've also got problems at the back, because that game when Liverpool beat Man City 4-3, you got to remember City scored 2 goals late on, because it was 4-1 at one stage, and they scored 2 quick consolation goals right at the end.
Yeah.
So I think that is going to be. I think it'll be very, very entertaining. There'll be lots and lots of goals, but I think Man City, if they keep the possession, then they should. I mean, for me at the moment, for the Champions League, if Messi just plays like he did against against Chelsea, nobody has a chance. He's incredible, isn't he?
He's outrageous, and I think as a football fan, neutrally out of these teams, I would absolutely love to see Barcelona and Manchester City in the final. Absolutely love that final. I think it'd be, what a great game. Yeah. I mean, it'll probably end up being the final. It'll be 0-0 and won on penalties. Now I've said that, but potentially the football, because what I love about this Man City team in terms of watching them and taking away my Spurs fan, etc. What I like about them is, and he did it with Barcelona, Pep. He makes football simple. And a lot of managers, and we talk about Mourinho, try and make football a really complicated game. But if you watch Man City when he was at Barcelona, it's all about movement. And if you ever watch Man City play De Bruyne, watch how many touches each player has. It's very, very rare that they have 2 or 3 touches. It's pass, it's move. And if you recall, it was at Wembley, wasn't it, when Barcelona played Manchester United? And I know Man United didn't win that game. But the thing with that game was that it wasn't a particularly poor performance by Man United. The problem was it's the movement that Pep gets from his players, and I think, for example, Sterling, he's made, Sterling, who I still don't think is one of the best players in world football by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's brilliant, but Pep, because he's worked with him on how to move into space, I just think when you watch it, it's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because it makes it so hard for the opposition to be able to do anything to combat it. But yeah, Barcelona, Man City. I mean, what a great final that would be. What a great final.
Yeah, same. Jaesh, last points on the ties.
I think the tie of the round is definitely Liverpool and Man City. I think it's going to be a really, really exciting game. Personally, I think Liverpool are going to go through. I think we're going to see exciting goal-filled games on both legs, actually. I don't think we'll see any tight games. And I think Liverpool will basically make it. They'll win both games 3-2 or like 2-1. That sort of score, and just by one goal and just edge it. Because I think if there is one manager who can do it, it's probably Jurgen Klopp and this Liverpool team. They've already beaten Man City once, and the first time when they lost, I think that was not really fair because Mane had the red card, and if that red card didn't happen, I think the game played out quite differently. So I can actually see one game being a draw and Liverpool winning the other. So overall, I think Liverpool's more likely to go through. As for the other games, I think it's quite straightforward. I think probably Bayern will go through. The big game, I think, is probably Juventus, Real Madrid, and I fancy Juventus actually to beat Real Madrid in this one. They probably keep it tight and make one. Dybala seems to be on really good form. I think Dybala will be the guy to actually secure that victory. As for Barcelona, I think Barcelona will get through as well. Yeah, I think pretty standard most of the fixtures.
All right, well, that concludes this episode. Thanks to all the guests today for their very valuable insight. Be sure to check out ExtraTimeTalk, Last Word on Football, and Footballeh, all in the description, as well as links to our Twitter and ExtraTimeTalk, Last Word on Football, and Footballeh Twitter links in the description as well. Thank you for joining us. Leave your thoughts in the comment, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. And until then, we'll see you next week.